The best loadouts in solo zero builds of Fortnite is what we will be discussing in today's video, so let's get right into it. What you use in zero builds of Fortnite can make a world of difference. It can result in much better outcomes when playing zero builds of Fortnite, especially when 50-50ing other players or if you get third-partied right after finishing a fight. Firstly, it's important to mention that solo zero builds of Fortnite is a different ballpark to duos, trios, and squads of zero builds Fortnite. It requires a slightly different loadout, and we will be covering what to carry in duos, trios, and squads later on in the video, so make sure you stick around for the end of the video to find that out. When it comes to loadouts, the results aren't linear in zero builds of Fortnite. Yes, there is better loadouts overall. Some guns are infinitely better to carry than other guns. These so-called worser guns can be more favorable if you do find it in legendary or epic rarity, say if you're carrying a common or an uncommon version of a better gun. We will be covering that shortly as well. Before we cover what these loadouts are, we're going to need to cover some definitions. So there's 5 total categories for loadouts in zero builds of Fortnite for what you want to have as your composition. This includes a primary weapon, secondary weapon, rotation item, cover, and then as well heals. Primary weapons typically being long range to mid range weapons. These weapons you use initially or firstly, aka primarily in a fight. Secondary weapons are more close range weapons, stuff like shotguns and SMGs, which you use secondarily in a fight. After you do a bit of damage, you pull it out to finish a fight. Some of these guns have different pairings based on what other weapons you carry. For example, there might be a better primary and a better secondary overall, but if you have a different type of secondary, a different type of primary might be necessary because they pair up better. We will be covering that shortly also. It's also important to note some primary weapons have secondary overlap, so they can be used from this longer range and then they can also be used at this close range. So no one category strictly defines one item. The best way to initially explain this is to list the items from best to worst items. Do note if an item is towards the bottom of this list and it is considered a worst item, it doesn't mean it's a bad item. It just means that all these other items are typically better. It's also very important to note that controller plays very different to keyboard and mouse, and there is some weapons that work a lot better on controller than they work on keyboard and mouse, and I will be noting that also. For this listing, we will not be discussing exotics at all. Exotics have too high of an RNG rating and are too rare to come across in a game, and we want to be talking about loadouts that are consistent that you can easily find and easily run in order to win matches. Not to mention, exotics are more fun items than they are good items. They're more for that fun aspect when you experience the game. I've been grinding zero builds a lot recently in order to decipher this information, in order to relay this information to you. So any support on this video is much appreciated. So if you could leave it with a like rating, subscribe down below, or if you want to use my code onyi in the Fortnite item store, a little goes a long way. So in zero builds, if you want to win more, I recommend you go for a 2-gun loadout. You want 1 primary weapon, 1 secondary weapon, and you always want to be carrying the shockwave hammer. After that, it kind of just comes down to ample heals. And if you can't find ample heals, carrying 1 version of cover and then 1 heal can suffice you, but I always recommend carrying 2 slots of heals in zero build of Fortnite. In zero builds of Fortnite, you always need the shockwave hammer. Currently in Chapter 4, Season 1, you want to be carrying the shockwave hammer. If someone rotates onto you and you don't have a shockwave hammer, you're more than likely going to die. If you've just finished a fight and someone rotates fast onto you with a shockwave hammer and you have no way to get out, you're more than likely going to die. And if you're trying to get yourself in good positions or have better rotations and you don't have the shockwave hammer, you're more than likely going to die. So you want to be avoiding not having this item. You always want to be landing in anywhere in the map that has the shockwave hammer. The shockwave hammer can be very easily obtained. It's very easy to find in faction chests, aka Geno chests, aka these big new white chests that are on the map. And if you check out the link in the description or you go to the website fortnite.gg, you will find out that these are very easy to identify where they are on the map. You typically get about an 80% spawn rate, and you can also find hammers in other locations, aka from eliminating the boss Geno located at the Citadel or just on the floor in chests also. Now before I jump into the primary and secondary items, I just want to note, if you're using the shockwave hammer, this is a really important thing for zero builds of Fortnite. You never want to be rotating and have 0 hits on your hammer. You don't want to deplete your hammer all the way just from moving around the map. You always want to have a reserve 2. You want to have reserve 2 hits in order to rotate around the map, because if you get beamed or you get third party or you finish a fight, you need to have these hits, and if you don't have these hits, you're going to end up dying because cover is not necessary in solos. Very much so in duos, trios, and squads, you do need cover. You need to carry yourself a porta bunker, or you need to carry yourself some cow catchers, because these are going to enable you to not get beamed by the other teams or the other person's teammates while you focus on people. But in solos, you're focusing on one person and then rotating away fast, so you don't need cover, but you always need those reserve shockwave hammer hits so you can move yourself out of a situation into a new one, or give yourself a better positional advantage. So let's talk weapons now. So for primary weapons, you have currently the Scar, aka the assault rifle, the Red Eye assault rifle, you have the new pistol in Fortnite, you have bows, and you also have the Excalibur rifle, as well as the Twin Mag SMG. Now the Twin Mag SMGs is the only gun that currently overlaps these categories. It can be used as a primary weapon as well as a secondary weapon, but I don't recommend it being your only secondary weapon. So if you're carrying this item, I recommend you also carry a shotgun, but more on that when we get to secondary weapons. So the best weapon that you can be carrying right now in zero builds of Fortnite is the pistol. This is the first time ever we've had a pistol meta in Fortnite. The pistol is a very dynamic item. It can do far range damage as well as rapid fire, fast, close range damage. This is the first pistol in Fortnite where you've never had to only tap fire it. You can hold down trigger and it'll go down full auto, and it can absolutely decimate people. Now this item is a little bit harder to use at range on controller, but all round is a fantastic item. The next second best primary weapon you can be using in Fortnite right now is the tactical assault rifle. Now this item unfortunately can only be obtained via perks, so it can be a little bit of a struggle, but if you happen to get this among your first perk or second perk, and especially if you happen to upgrade this item, it absolutely decimates and destroys people. Close range, it does really good damage. Far range, you have to tap fire a little bit more, but it is a fantastic item. After that, we then have the Red Eye assault rifle as the third best primary item that you can be carrying. This has a large ammo count, hits high amounts of damage, but due to its slower rate of fire, I recommend the other two guns over it. So if someone gets in your face, it's a lot harder to hit fire this gun if you've already depleted your shotgun or SMG ammo, or if you need to switch to a fast item after hitting a good shotgun shot. Because a lot of the time for primary weapons, although they're your first point of contact and you want to be hitting big damage before you pull out your secondary, if you pull out your secondary and you hit a big shotgun shot and then you want to pull out an item to finish them fast, you want something that does good, fast, close range fire, which the pistol does and the tactical assault rifle does, which is why they're ranked so highly. Because not only do they do damage great from mid-range, really good from far range if you're on PC as well, but also in that close range they can destroy. After the Red Eye assault rifle, we're gonna have to categorize the Scar or just the standard assault rifle. Now this item is really good on controller, like really good. The aim assist for this is pretty nutty, but if you're playing on PC, I don't really recommend it. Now obviously if you find yourself an epic or a legendary rarity of these and you're only carrying yourself a common or uncommon pistol, I'll take the Scar over the pistol because this higher rarity has less recoil and it does a little bit more damage, so it's a lot easier to use. After the assault rifle, the rest of these items aren't really direct primary weapons. You have the DMR, you have the Excalibur, and you have the bows, but I wouldn't be using these as just one primary, one secondary. This is in the use case if you carry two primaries. Do note, if you carry yourself a secondary, like a shotgun, and you're carrying yourself also a Twin Mag SMG, which categorizes itself as a secondary and a primary, you can then carry yourself a DMR or a bow or Excalibur rifle and it works really well. But if you're carrying yourself a Scar or a Red Eye assault rifle or something else like that, carrying a bow and then an Excalibur rifle can be really good. Now the best bow overall in zero builds is probably the Shockwave bow, especially if you don't have the Shockwave hammer. Having this rotation, or to ensure that if someone tries to rotate fast onto you, you can quickly get away. For example, if they go to hammer hit you, you can bow the ground and get away. This is a great item. Next best bow I would say would be the flame bow. If someone's inside of a building, you can destroy it quite easily. The stink bow is good, but it works a lot better for build mode than zero builds, because this is more so if someone's boxing up and they're not coming out of their box and they have good ping. This item works really well. The grappler bow is fantastic for rotations also, very rare. It is an exotic, but I will mention here because it's a little bit more common at the moment because people are getting it in the Christmas presents from Winterfest. And this also does 200 damage to the head, the only item that does 200 damage to the head, so it's important to note that. Now the Excalibur rifle is a fantastic item, but it's more so suited for build mode than zero build or Fortnite. It can work really well. If you're good with snipers and you can hit good shots, it's a fantastic item, but it categorizes itself outside of this 2-gun loadout where you have to carry 3 guns if you're using it, and in that reason I do rank it quite low. Now the DMR is a great item also, and it works a lot better on controller than keyboard and mouse. If you're a controller player, run it up. You might actually enjoy using this gun very well, but it's in the same boat as the others. So for this ranking, we have the pistol, we then have the tactical assault rifle, we have the Red Eye assault rifle, we then have the Scar, we then have the DMR, we then have the Excalibur rifles, and then the bows. The bows can change for where their rankings are, but then again, this is more if you're carrying 3 guns. When it comes to secondary items in Fortnite, the best one to use currently at the moment is the Thunder shotgun. Now this shotgun does a lot of damage from range, but it does chew away your ammo, as each time you shoot it, it uses 2 bullets. On top of that as well, it requires you to have good aim. So if you're actually struggling to aim a little bit and stuff, I don't recommend using this item. I recommend using the Marvin or the combat shotgun over it. But if your aim's pretty decent, this is the gun that you want to be carrying. So you want to be pairing the Thunder Shotgun with the pistol or the Twin Mag SMG, preferably not the Red Eye Assault Rifle because they're both really slow rate of fire guns. If you're carrying the Thunder Shotgun, I'd say it's better to carry a Scar than a Red Eye Assault Rifle in zero builds. Build modes is different because if someone gets close in your face, you can outbuild them and then you'll be fine. But zero builds, you have no option of doing that. So I don't recommend carrying these two slow rate of fire guns. After the Thunder Shotgun, the next best shotgun to use is actually the Combat Shotgun. Now the Combat Shotgun is great from range. It has a super fast rate of fire. And then on top of that as well, it has 8 bullets that you can shoot from it at one time, the most out of any of the guns currently in Fortnite. It's important to note that the Combat Shotgun is also only obtained via perks, but if you do have enough gold and you do get it in your first or second perk, I recommend upgrading it and you will probably actually destroy most of the lobbies while using this. Next best shotgun is then obviously the Marvin Auto Shotgun. Now, this shotgun is great if your aim's not fantastic, and this shotgun actually works a lot better in other game modes. For example, if you're playing trios or squad zero builds, I'd recommend this over the Thunder because you can just keep turning and shooting people fast. Rather than having to reload your gun or slowly shoot your gun, you want to be something that can take out multiple people fast, where the Thunder is more suited for solo gameplay. Now, if you're carrying the Marvin Auto Shotgun, it pairs really well with using any primary weapon because it's a fast rate of fire gun. This is the same for the Combat Shotgun. So if you're using either of these items, you actually don't need to carry yourself one of those good primaries I was talking about before. If you carry the Combat or the Marvin, you don't need to carry an SMG. You don't need to be carrying a fast rate of fire primary weapon because you don't need to switch to these weapons fast because these shotguns shoot so fast, you're not meant to switch while using them. So if you're using either the Combat or the Marvin, you can just use the bow or you can just use yourself the Red Eye Assault Rifle, although I don't exclusively recommend it. The Red Eye will get you further obviously than the bow. It is something that you can do. Now after all of those, the worst secondary item to carry in Fortnite currently is the Machine Pistol. Machine Pistol is really for that close range fire. If someone's a little bit too far away and you start shooting this gun, although it's got ample ammo, you're not going to be really doing a lot of damage. It works better if you're using a shotgun and then you pull this out, but this is one of those ones that doesn't work good at long range. I wouldn't categorize it as a primary, also as a secondary. So therefore the Machine Pistol is currently the worst secondary in the game. Now the Twin Mag SMG is obviously a fantastic secondary, I already talked about in the primaries, and I would categorize it better than the Machine Pistol, but it doesn't really work well by itself. Due to its lower ammo count and due to the fact that in zero builds people can have up to 250 HP, you're not going to be taking someone out just by shooting this gun in zero builds like you would if you were using the Combat SMG, which was really OP and really broken a few seasons ago. So I'd actually recommend only using the Twin Mag as a primary or if you're carrying a good shotgun. More of a last result or off spawn type of deal it works better as if you don't have a shotgun yet. So just to summarize once again, Thunder's the best shotgun to carry, then the Combat Shotgun, then the Marvin, then the Twin Mag SMG, and then the Machine SMG. So I have to interrupt this video because while I was editing this video and putting all the final touches on it, sometimes these take a few days to make as I do it all myself, the Heavy Shotgun got unbolted. So this does change the list a little bit. Essentially, the Heavy Shotgun is the best shotgun in Fortnite. There's no doubt about that. But I'm going to have to rank it after the Thunder Pump Shotgun. So very similar to how I previously just talked about how the Marvin is good if you don't have great aim and you're not hitting heavy shots. This is exactly the same for the Heavy Thunder situation. So if you've got perfect aim, use the Heavy, you're going to dominate, you're going to do really well. But the Heavy is really unforgiving if you miss a shot because the way that the reticle works, it's so small that if you're off even by an inch, even by a micromillimeter, it's not going to count as doing any damage, and then that's just going to allow whoever's in your face if they do more damage to you in order for them to win the fight. So the order goes Thunder Shotgun, Heavy Shotgun, then the Combat, then the Marvin. Now the Heavy is a item because I'd only really pick it up if your aim is really good, and if your aim is really good, then it will be ranked better than the Thunder anyway. So it's a bit of a weird circumstance gun. It's decent in zero build modes, but if you miss your shot, it's going to cost you big. When it comes to explosive items like the RPG, grenades, or fireflies, they don't really work well in zero builds. So these are a lot more suited for build mode of Fortnite, especially considering most people are going to be carrying hammers and just hammering away, and that they take a while to shoot. An RPG doesn't shoot fast. It's good if someone's right in your face, but it's much more better off to be using a Thunder Shotgun because you can accidentally RPG yourself. Grenades are very easy to run away from, and the same for fireflies. They're not going to spread onto someone's builds because they're not building, so I won't recommend using these items at all in zero build mode. Launch pads are good in zero build or Fortnite, but the hammer is best overall. The same for the impulse nades. Like, obviously carry these if you don't have yourself a shockwave hammer, but the best rotation items you want to carry is a shockwave hammer and then a shockwave bow, and then the others secondarily. When it comes to cover, as I stated before, it's not necessary in solos, zero build or Fortnite. The shockwave hammer is a lot better overall, and if you use it properly, always having that 2 reserve, you don't need these cover items. Now if you're playing duos, trios or squads, I would recommend carrying the Shockwave hammer and then the bunkers, and if you don't have bunkers, to carry cow catchers for your team, and then just carrying one set of heals, because your teammates will have other heals and you'll be able to cover yourself if you get hit too much, so you can share your heals amongst yourself. When it comes to heals in Fortnite, the best heals to carry are splashes by far. It's very, very important to notice there's currently a bug in Fortnite for the chug cannon, and if you get the chug cannon via perk, it recharges a lot faster than the standard chug cannon. So the chug cannon is really, really good if you get it from the perk. It recharges in 6 seconds rather than the 15 to 20 seconds if it's not from the perk. If you're carrying splashes, the next best heal to carry is minis. So if you're carrying splashes, you already have splashes, minis are great, and then all the other heals kind of just fall into their places. So I've recorded this in post because I didn't record this properly while I had my webcam on. But then you want to be carrying slap juice. Slap juice is absolutely brilliant. And then slap berries are the next best heals. Then if you have minis and you don't have yourself splashes, carrying stuff like the med mist and floppers and then other white heals will suffice. So hopefully this in-depth guide or tutorial has helped you out in any shape or form. If it has and you haven't yet, I appreciate if you could leave it with a like rating and subscribe down below. Use code ONY in the Fortnite item store, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Goodbye.